This is the story of a local legend, a 200-inch Pennsylvania buck we named Brutus.
That thing's a freaking giant.
Pennsylvania is probably, in my mind, one of the hardest states to hunt big deer. We have more hunters per square mile than probably any state in the country, so deer get pressured. They have a hard time reaching maturity, so, to find a buck like Brutus with his, age and caliber, it's a rare thing in Pennsylvania. I grew up hunting Pennsylvania, and it's actually made me the hunter that I am today because it's hard hunting. You got to really put your time in and figure out where these deer are and figure out where they're hiding away from the pressure a lot of times, and it's a tough state to hunt. Pennsylvania is also a state where you can spotlight deer at night. So a deer like that, usually everybody and their mother knows about it, and it makes them harder to hunt because the amount of pressure. So, I heard about this deer really word of mouth. A friend of mine had seen it. It's a huge, vast area, so it was very hard to figure out where the deer was at. But I looked for him for a whole year, putting cameras out in different spots. There was some public ground there. Did some scouting on that, hung some cameras, but never got, for a whole year, I didn't get a picture of him. He was a ghost. The second year, I kind of had some tips on where he was at, and then a buddy of mine was also hunting him. And he had some pictures of him previous years, but he didn't have any sightings of him. All his pictures were at night, so I knew where my buddy was hunting. He was passing through there, but it wasn't like his core area. It was a big piece of the puzzle, but then I still had to put in a lot of legwork and a lot of driving around, studying my Onyx maps, stuff like that. So it took me 2 years to figure the deer out, but once I figured him out and honed in on him, I executed. 2022 is the year I shot Hercules, and Hercules was 184-inch 10-point, and a friend of mine had seen Brutus that fall, so it had been the fall 2022, and he told me, he goes, "Hey, I just seen this buck, and it dwarfs Hercules." I'm like, "There's no way you just seen a Pennsylvania buck that dwarfed Hercules," because he was 184-inch 10-point. And he's like, "I'm telling you, he was wider, he had more points, has big, tall tines." He compared him to Hercules and said he was bigger, so I decided that I was gonna at least try to figure out how big the deer was, if he was actually that caliber of a deer, and if he actually did exist, because at this point, it was just a big buck story. Until I get a picture of him or see him myself, it was kind of a hunt for a ghost at that point, you know what I mean? But then once I seen pictures of him and knew that he was legit and realized actually how big he was, then I knew that I was going to spend my entire season on trying to harvest that deer. First pictures I ever saw was from a buddy of mine, Damien. He had already harvested a buck at the time, and then he brought me in, was like, "Hey," he goes, "I got pictures of this deer." He goes, "I've never seen the deer, but I'd like to help you harvest this deer." He shared the pictures with me, and then that helped me put a big piece of the puzzle together, just from the direction of the pictures and my Onyx, studying my maps. I was able to pinpoint where the deer was bedded and where he was hiding. The area this deer inhabited was about 1,200 acre piece. You weren't allowed on it. It was strictly prohibited for hunting, and it was a big quarry, and it was just growing up super thick. He inhabited that place the majority of the time, but then during the rut, I just figured, this deer has to be leaving that piece of property at some point, and it's like real thick river bottom. Once I kind of figured out where I thought the deer was, I shared it with Damien and said, "Hey, I think, this deer's hiding along the river." And Damien's like, "Well, I know, who owns that. I can get you permission to go down in there." So then me and Damien, we went and talked with the gentleman. He granted me permission, and then we went down there and hung a camera on the edge. We didn't want to penetrate the property because, it was real thick, and I felt like if he was hiding in there, I didn't want to go in there to hang a camera or stand. So we actually found a scrape right on the edge of the thicket, and we hung a camera on it and then backed out. 2 days later, we got a picture of him.
I'm excited to introduce a brand new Deer Society video series called The Art of Deer Hunting. Now within this series, we have categories such as the art of calling, the art of food plots, the art of scent control, We're gonna detail and break down all things in these categories plus more, from trail cameras, stands, scrapes, all things related to successful deer hunting is what this series is all about. This series is a culmination of all the information we've received internally from some of the best deer hunters across the country and the methods they've used to successfully harvest mature whitetails year after year. This is called The Art of Deer Hunting on the Deer Society YouTube channel.
After getting the picture and the video of Brutus hitting the scrape, I mean, he's just 23 inches wide, has split G2, split brows, just mass. He's, you know, got points going everywhere. Just a giant buck, like not a typical deer you would see in Pennsylvania. So like when you know, get a trail cam picture or video of a deer like that in Pennsylvania, I was literally just blown away. I was just in complete awe that I was even gonna have an opportunity to hunt a deer of this caliber in my home state of Pennsylvania, because deer like Brutus do not really exist that often in Pennsylvania. I decided that, you know, I wasn't going to go in there and hang a stand during the day because it wasn't a very big piece, but I did want to get in tight on this bedding area and, you know, get on the downwind side of it. So I decided that I was going to hunt on, you know, the east side of this bedding area and wait for some sort of west wind. So I kind of picked out an area on my Onyx where I was going to hang a stand. And on November the 4th, I slipped in there at like 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hung a Novix in the dark and climbed into it and prepared for an all-day sit. So at 2 o'clock, this guy up on the hill started running a leaf blower, and this little buck must have been bedded up on the hill, and he decided he was going to get away from that noise, and he comes bebopping off the hill, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a big body deer stand up, and right when I put my binoculars on him, he turned his head, and I knew that it was Brutus. He started coming in to run that other little buck off, and was chasing him around and just crashing through the brush. You know, at one point he came out and had a whole tree hanging out of his horns. And I just decided that, you know, I need to do some calling. So I grabbed my extinguisher and I literally just played his emotions against him. And I grunted at him really hard. He looked up and I grunted at him again. And he just turned and started making a beeline right towards me. When he's walking up the creek, I just had my rangefinder and I was just looking for openings and ranging openings. As you can see in the video, it was really thick brush. I mean, it was definitely going to be hard to get a shot. He steps in this little opening. He's in boat range. He's standing at 30 yards, but there's some brush in the way. I couldn't get a shot, so I'm looking ahead of him and trying to find an opening. And as he started walking again, I tried stopping him in the first opening. And he must not heard me right away. He took like 2 more steps and he stopped behind a tree. At this point, I'm like thinking I might not get a shot at this deer because I had 1 more opening. He started walking again, and this time when I went to stop him, I really made sure I did it louder. And he stopped, put my 35 on him, touched one off.
Got him. I got him. I got him. He's dead. He's dead. I don't know if I'm in focus or not, but I don't even care. That thing's a freaking giant. That is Brutus. That is a local legend. I've been trying to find that deer for 2 years. That is the first time I've ever seen him. It's gotta be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is 2 o'clock, and I just smoked a baby. My buddy Damien, man, he helped me put the pieces of the puzzle of this deer together. I gotta start making some phone calls.
I knew the deer was dead, but like I still didn't believe it until like I walked up on the deer. At the time, like I knew he was big, but like I think I was still in disbelief that I killed a 200, you know, like it was just one of them things. It's like, I don't know, it's just like a wave of emotions. And Like, it was awesome. It was one of the things you want to relive like 100 times. Brutus. Oh my goodness, guys. What a giant. This is a buck I've been trying to locate for the last 2 years with no success until about a month ago. My buddy Damien, he gave me some tips on where he had pictures of him. And I thought he was gonna be down on this bottom, this thick stuff. Damien got me permission to go in here. Big thanks to Damien and my buddy Frank for letting me borrow his crossbow. My bow's literally been broken all season. I haven't been able to hunt. It's my first sit of the year, and I laid a hammer down. Absolute giant. Oh my God. Thank you, Lord. Keys to my success in this hunt, not penetrating that property. I knew he was in there at this point, and my thing was I'd rather go in there, get there super early in the morning before he gets into the property, hang a stand in the dark and climb into it and do a hang and hunt. A big thing is being able to look at a deer and read his body language. That's like a huge key in calling, and use the extinguisher. It was a deadly combination, and he came right in on a string. And that was a big key to harvesting this deer. You know, I've always wanted to shoot a 200-inch deer and never thought I actually would. Brutus is definitely a buck of a lifetime, and a buck that I'll never forget.
Thanks for watching this Deer Society Hunt Breakdown. Subscribe to the channel for more great educational content to help you become a better hunter. From podcasts to the Art of Deer Hunting series, hunt breakdowns, tips, tactics, and a whole lot more. The Deer Society is all about deer hunting education.